the solution to the crisis of African people in any place is located. We cannot hold on to that parochial view. The imperialists are not parochial. They're international. And guess what? African people are all around the world. We're everywhere. But we have assumed, we have had imposed upon us false consciousness of who the hell we are. So in some places we call ourselves, all 18 of us, Jamaicans. Do you know that what the imperialists did when they carved up Africa and all of the so-called sub-Saharan African territories? Of the 45 of them, at least 35 of them have 10 million or less people there. They've divided us up. And so they can deal with Ghana, they can deal with Djibouti. Djibouti is about as big as Djibouti. So you got people walking around with these silly, I want to cuss, these silly identities that's been imposed on us by a hunky power. You know, and when look at where Africa is. You know, Karl Marx raised the question when he said that for capitalism to be born, that tremendous amounts of capital and labor power had to be in the possession of producers. This thing that he called a primitive accumulation of capital that started the whole thing up. It's not that some genius of white people created all this wealth and value that you see every place that starves the rest of us. It was slavery and brigandage and colonialism that did it. It was the colonists, he said, that created the wealth that made capitalism possible. And the colonies that he talked about, where are they? Where are they? There are places that's now called Kenya. There are places that's now called Haiti. There are places that's now called Trinidad and Jamaica. There are places that's now called ghettos and barrios, etc. And guess who else is there? We are there. And if we organize and coordinate this damn struggle, African people and the African Revolution can bring imperialism down once and for all. So they think they can solve. They think they can solve the crisis of imperialism by going into Africa. Let me just say this and get out your way. You know, what we understand about people's warfare and the guerrilla has always been that we recognize that an enemy drawn into a territory, drawn into the territory, that's how it gets wiped out. Not drawn into Ghana, not drawn into Sierra Leone, not drawn into some single places, but drawn into the continent and having to fight every African on the continent as well as the Africans that he left on the home front. Whether it's in America, whether it's in England, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in Belgium, all of us he has to contend with. That's a dead imperialism. That tells us what it is that we have to do more than anything else. Africa for Africans. Those at home and those abroad. One Africa, one people. All right. So, let me just finish. What to do? Because one of the most important things I'm convinced that has happened, we haven't taken full advantage of it because we knew at it, don't know how to do it as effectively as we should. But the Black is Back coalition, I think it's one of the most important things that has happened to us. And here you've got talented and resourceful and committed activists who working and have been working. People who've challenged Obama, Glenn Ford and Nellie Bailey, they're having forums and what have you talking about Obama and what he represents, trying to alert the community and the people to that. You know? And there are others out there, some of them who were Obama supporters. But they say, I can't be down with these damn wars that he's pushing. I want to be a part of the Black is Back coalition as well. I thought it was incredible. And guess what? We had a meeting on September 12th. And then made a decision sometime after that. And I think something in less than, was about a month or so after we decided, 2 months? 6 weeks after we had a national demonstration. 6 weeks, the first national demonstration against Barack Obama was done by African people in the Black is Back coalition. Guess what? We did it even when the white peace people, who hated war so much, they hate war except of a Negro who they like, is conducting the damn war. You understand? That was it. And we did it when they were too timid to do it. They said it couldn't be done in 6 weeks. We had a magnificent mobilization and marched on the white people's house. And you should have seen it marching down the streets in Washington, D.C. Because, first of all, it started, nobody could believe it. Marching against Obama. You could see the startled expressions on people's faces. But you saw some Africans cheering. And guess what? There is an illusion in our communities. Comrade Glenn was talking to me about it the other day, about a Pew poll shows that African people are the most hopeful about the economy. And that's an illusion. It's all right, because it's because Obama is in the White House that they think there's some possibilities. But that's going to wear off. It's going to wear off sooner than the ass kicking that the police is putting on our butts. Because that is the reality that people are having to confront. How much time? I noticed that the people, did you notice that when what was that, a zero? That's measure O. I noticed that the timekeepers, y'all noticed when the timekeepers was talking? When the ones who was passing up the little yellow thing saying, stop talking. Remember, y'all saw when they was talking that they didn't get no little yellow stuff passed up. But the point that I want to make is that there is an objective reality that will challenge subjectivism. There is something in the real world that will challenge what's in your brain if they're not connected. So you can believe this if you want to. And I have to make the little analogy that I made 100 times before, because this says 5 minutes. Because that's somebody else's 5 minutes, right? But because, listen, I just want to make this simple point. Because I am not at all disturbed by people having illusions about Obama at this point. It's like if all of us in this room believe that this podium was a car, I have a responsibility to try to convince you that is not a car. This is a podium. You see, a car has, various kind of objective characteristics and etc. that constitutes, like an automobile. But this is a podium. See, doesn't have that. And you think you ain't going nowhere, so, some people won't even struggle around the question. Some people concede and say, well, let them think it's a car because, they'll come to their senses, one day or another, right? And a lot of people still believe that this is a damn car. But when the police kick the door down and we have to get out of here, the one who jump on this and try to drive away is going to be in trouble. Going to be in trouble. And my point simply is this. There is an objective reality that is at work that articulates itself through every experience that we have that will bring down the illusion about Obama. It is our job to keep saying that is not a damn car, that's a podium. So that when it ripens enough, people will know where to come to and what it is to do in order to break this hold that imperialism has on us. Imperialism in a state of crisis, our responsibility is to deepen the crisis, not to let them off the hook, but make it deeper. And guess what? At the point African people turn their back on Barack Hussein Obama, he has no use to white power anymore. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Again, we want to thank Glenn Ford from the Black Report, as well as Chairman Amalia Satila for their presentations. I don't know how much time we have left. 20 minutes, okay. The next 20 minutes is dedicated to you in the audience. If you have any questions, you can come up to the mic to participate into this discussion. Any questions? Uhuru. Just state your name and ask your question.
Sachaba, I want to say long live the African People's Socialist Party, long live the Uhuru movement. All right, it's an honor to be here. My question is, you know, I've been in the Uhuru movement for about 10 years, and they've always been preparing me for neo-colonialism, been preparing me for Barack Obama, and helping me understand, you know, what's going on around the world, preparing me for the crisis in capitalism, and now I see it. So I'm going to appreciate the Uhuru movement for that. And my question is, what makes Latin America so different? Because I hear Hugo Chavez, and he's saying the same thing that the chairman has been saying. Like, did you call Hugo Chavez to talk to him? Because he's saying, he's like, you know, capitalism is declined, and, you know, and we need a socialist vision for Latin America. What does one Latin America, what would that mean for African people? I heard comrades from Colombia calling today, and already Hugo Chavez is talking about a united Latin America under socialism. So what did that, if anything, mean for African people, and how would that inform or you know, impede upon our struggle?
First of all, I think one significance of what is happening in South America is that we're in the process of redefining the relations between peoples and between countries in the world. I think that Latin America, South America rather, represents a growing movement by those who have constituted the pedestal upon which the whole capitalist edifice rests. And so what I see is that what it represents, again, is that there's a shifting that's happening in the whole analysis of the peoples of the world who have been trapped, all of us, as objects of history. Imperialism has defined us all. And even some of our most clever, educated philosophers, people who are really progressive, etc., have had to rely mostly on imperialist definitions of the realities. And imperialism has objectified all of us. Even when you look at Karl Marx, when he talks about how capitalism was born, you know, he makes this very significant statement. It's much more significant to us than it was to him. When he talks about primitive accumulation being necessary for the advent of capitalism in the world. What in the hell is primitive accumulation? It turns out that primitive accumulation is slavery, is colonialism. It is what has happened is that we have become footnotes. The history, the vast majority of humanity have become footnotes. And so I'm not a goddamn primitive accumulation. You know, the history of whole peoples, you know, the struggles of whole peoples, you know, like just objectified in that fashion. And now with the advent of a revolutionary process, and I saw it happening, you know, like in the 60s, that those who have been objects of history are becoming subjects of history. We talk for ourselves. And the white world is now becoming the object of history. And they don't like what the hell they're hearing because they've always justified themselves and everybody else. They bludgeoned us, strangled us, beat us up, imprisoned us, and we couldn't talk. Now that we got our voices back, they don't like what they're saying. They don't like what we're saying on the right, and they don't like what we're saying on the left, right? Because now we are the subjects, and they have become objects of history. But I think South America is incredibly significant. At one time, and this is not absolutely a new phenomenon, because we see shiftings, you know, like you know, where the revolutionary center may be at any particular time has shifted. You know, who can remember Vietnam? And what that meant to inspiring everybody on earth. I was in a meeting in Nicaragua in 1981, January 1981. The revolution in Nicaragua was fresh. That was before they pushed it back. And it was a solidarity conference. And I'll never forget. This is interesting. I never forget when the Vietnamese walked into the room. It was announced that the Vietnamese there. Everybody in the room stood up. Thunderous applause, because little tiny Vietnam had carried the struggles of the oppressed peoples around the world on its shoulders, and it defeated imperialism. And then we talk about Hugo Chavez and Venezuela. At that time, there was no revolution in Venezuela, but Venezuela was drunk with the oil money. And then and I think cattle was a big thing in Venezuela at that time too. The Venezuelan delegation at that time, when they walked in, they all came in with snakeskin briefcases.